What's up, y'all? Today we're in Acworth, Georgia to check out the city and see what it looks like and talk about what it's like to live in this city. Acworth, Georgia is in Cobb County, and some of the main roads that go through here would be Highway 41. This is also Main Street here, or Old Highway 41. Also, the interstate system goes very close to Acworth, or it might go right through the city, actually. And so this is a very big part of how Acworth was established. The fact that it's on the interstate certainly has helped the city develop into the city that it is today. But in addition to that, it's also an old railroad town. And so the railroad and the trains still go through this city, and certainly was a big part of the establishing of the city of Acworth. Obviously, the railroad is not as big of a part of the city today as it once was. Now it's more like this kind of revitalized historic downtown area. They've got a lot of like local mom and pop shops here. They've got Pearl's Spa here. They've also got a flooring store over here. Henry's Louisiana Grill is probably the most well-known restaurant in all of Acworth. In fact, the guy who owns this place, Henry, he will literally like go out into the dining room and talk to folks. He's like super jovial, super cool dude. This is definitely a spot that you got to check out if you are ever visiting in Acworth. But when it comes to downtown areas and when it comes to suburbs of Atlanta, there's no question that the city of Acworth has done a great job of preserving that kind of historic feel. They've still got a lot of these red brick buildings here, but they've got newer mom and pop shops, newer restaurants, newer commercial areas. We've got an ice cream place here, Scoops. And then over here, we've got like a souvenir kind of store. So certainly lots of options, and all of these are like locally owned stores. This is not the kind of area where you were gonna see like big box stores, Home Depot, Walmart, that kind of thing. Target is not gonna be directly here in the downtown Acworth area, which brings up an important point that Acworth is kind of different areas. There's like different parts of Acworth. It's not like one kind of area. There's the downtown area where we are now, and they've got this historic feel, and there are some homes nearby here, and you're certainly going to pay a bit of a premium to live in this historic area. Then you've got the part of Acworth that's kind of like south of Lake Allatoona and to the west of downtown Acworth, and that is a more densely residential area. Lots of neighborhoods out there. Not a lot of like locally owned places, but that is where you would find the big box stores, the Target and the Home Depot and all of that stuff. And then you've got a very small pocket that's about a mile or two from here that's kind of got this like lake town feel. The Lake Allatoona is a very big part of living in Acworth. In fact, many people who live in this area, when it comes to things to do, it would be Lake Allatoona. There's so many outdoor things to do there around the lake. Hiking, fishing, swimming, people will take their boats out there on Lake Allatoona, and so that's a very big part of this city. While I wouldn't necessarily consider all of Acworth to be like a lake town, there is just that little section of Acworth that we're actually gonna go check out here in just a little bit that has this kind of like lake town charm to it. It's almost like a beach town. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but it's right on the edge of the water, a lot of those homes. And so it has this lake town feel that you don't really get in a lot of the other suburbs of Metro Atlanta. Very often people who move here, especially from Florida or California, I moved here from South Florida, and being by the water is something that I desperately miss. And so you don't really get a lot of that kind of feel here in Metro Atlanta, but Acworth is kind of the exception. We do have that enormous lake. And so while Lake Allatoona is nothing like the coast, by no means am I saying that it's comparable to the beach. It is like the closest thing that we have to being on the water and being out there fishing and swimming and taking the boat out there. And so for many people who come here to Metro Atlanta from other states like California or Florida, being that close to Lake Allatoona is a big draw. In fact, if you're considering moving to this area, or you just have any questions about what it's like living in Acworth, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I'm a local realtor here in the area. Thank you so much to everybody who has reached out. Even if you just have a question about what it's like living here, I'm more than happy to help. Acworth is in Cobb County, and in general, Cobb County is known as being one of the most popular suburbs in all of Metro Atlanta. There's probably 10 to 15 counties in the Metro Atlanta area, and Cobb County is certainly one of the best ones. One of the reasons why people choose the city of Acworth and Cobb County as their new home is it's a family-friendly suburb that has low crime and excellent public schools. And so, unfortunately, not all of the counties in Georgia kind of fit that bill. And so there's no question that Cobb County and the city of Acworth are certainly one of the best ones in all of the Metro Atlanta area. But keep in mind that typically when we have one of these like awesome suburbs of Metro Atlanta, they tend to have higher cost of living. Cities like Marietta or Alpharetta or Milton, Sandy Springs, these cities that have such excellent amenities and are very desirable suburbs of Metro Atlanta to live in, they tend to have higher cost of living. But Acworth is the exception. In fact, Acworth has much lower cost of living than all of those suburbs I just mentioned. And this is one of the things that brings so many people to this area, to be able to find a kind of a family-friendly area with low crime and excellent public schools and still have the excellent community that you can find here in Acworth and not have to break the bank to live here. There's no question that that's becoming more and more popular every year, especially considering just how expensive everything is getting. And so cities like Acworth are really growing a bit more than some of the other suburbs because people can find that lower cost of living here. On average, we see that home prices around here are right around 400 to 500,000. But a lot of the homes here are kind of on the older side, maybe 20 to 30 years old. We have a lot of homes here from the 80s and the 90s. And so those homes are the ones that are right around 400 to 500,000. Now, there is, again, a lot of people that are moving here. And so the new construction companies, they know that. And so they're starting to build a lot of new construction homes in this area. But those homes tend to go for a little bit more, maybe 500 to 600,000. And in addition to that, you've also got property taxes here, which are a bit lower than some of the other parts of Metro Atlanta. Not only in Acworth, but many of the other suburbs, when you live within the immediate part of the downtown or city center area, like where we are right now, you would pay for city property taxes and for county property taxes. But most of the Acworth area, like most of the people who have an Acworth address, they don't live right here within this immediate downtown area. So they live in like unincorporated Acworth, which is really where you're only paying for Cobb County property taxes, but you're not having to pay for city property taxes. And those city property taxes are no joke. It's not like it's just a little bit extra. It's like double. It's like the same amount as the county taxes. So for a $500,000 home, when you're only paying for county property taxes, you're looking at about $6,000 per year. When you live in this immediate area where you're paying for both city and county, now you're talking about $10,000 to $12,000 per year for property taxes. The trade-off is that you're super close to all of these downtown things, all these shops and these restaurants, and maybe even like in a walkable area. Like the lake area that we're about to go check out in just a minute would probably also be considered the city of Acworth, where you would pay city property taxes. Again, the trade-off there is that you would be in that lake town part of Acworth, super close to Lake Allatoona, or Lake Acworth as it's called in that area. And so definitely a trade-off. For some people it's worth it, for some people it's not. Something to think about if you're planning on moving to the city of Acworth. I wasn't able to get into that lake area of Acworth, but I got some B-roll of some of the homes there and the lake access. This part of Acworth is very different than the rest of Acworth. It's got that kind of lake town feel in the neighborhoods, and then it's right next to the lake access here. And so a lot of these homes are Airbnb'd, and then a lot of these people who live in this neighborhood, they're there for that easy access to the lake. Now, There's certainly a lot of great things going for the city of Acworth. This is definitely one of the best suburbs in all of Metro Atlanta, but there are of course some downsides to living in Acworth. And if you're thinking about moving to this area, it's important that you know the good and the bad of what it's like living here. So I made an entire video talking about the pros and the cons of living in Acworth. You can check out that video here. I'll see you in the next one.